Hey guys, this is Tanner Invest here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we have an incredible video. This is going to be very exciting, I think. This is on the new Treasury company called OCTO. So OCTO, ticker symbol OCTO, got a lot of hype yesterday. Actually, the stock ran up over 3,000% single day. Now, this Treasury company, and the reason why it blew up so much, because Tom Lee from BitMine Emergent Technologies, ticker symbol BMNR, actually mentioned that they invested into a pipe for this new Treasury. So they actually purchased $20 million worth of shares, getting a total of 13.7 million shares at $1.46 per share. And they actually have now an ownership stake in OCTO, right? And what makes this exciting is that this Treasury company is actually chaired by Dan Ives, the mega bull that you've probably seen wearing colorful jackets on CNBC. And so he's basically deciding, like, hey, Tom Lee's doing this great thing over here with BMNR and all these ETH Treasury companies, these micro strategies of the world for Bitcoin. Now let me go ahead and invest in an entirely new token called Worldcoin. Now, you may have never even heard of Worldcoin today, but in today's video, we are going to jump into what Worldcoin is, why I think ultimately it is very important for the world itself, and why Sam Altman is actually running this company, the company World, which is behind the token Worldcoin. So we're going to talk about all these things today in today's video. So I appreciate if you guys would like and subscribe. I think I've done now about 11 videos on BMNR and SharpLink Gaming on these other Ethereum digital asset treasuries. But today is going to be a little bit different of a video where we are talking specifically about Worldcoin. And I think ultimately it does obviously overlap because Tom Lee and BMNR have a stake in this company, part of their new moonshot strategy, which is another way of raising money. So not only can they pound the ATM, can they dilute shareholders in other ways, they can actually also invest in companies and then sell those shares to make money to buy more ETH. All very interesting. So let's go ahead and hop into the screen here, guys. So I will go ahead and give a disclaimer. Yesterday at 7 a.m. was when the presser came out. So the presser on this company, OCTO, came out at 7 a.m. I saw the news at 7:14 a.m. I remember looking at the clock. I realized, holy crap, this is still early. This is a new pipe announcement. So I went ahead and bought because we've studied this, guys. I have videos on SharpLink. We can go ahead and I'm actually going to pull up a new duplicate here. Go back to the main page. We've seen what happens with Robinhood. We've seen what's happened with SharpLink Gaming. We've seen what happened with BMNR. Whenever these new things get announced, there's typically a massive run up in the stock. So let's look year to date on SharpLink. What happened here on May 23rd, May 28th, 28th, 29th, 30th? Massive run up in these stocks due to the hype of these strategies. Same thing happened with BMNR. We can take a look at BitMine Emergent Technologies over the past few months. Now, throughout the time here, we can see July 27th, they announced the pipe, 33, 46, 58, all the way to over $135 a share. OCTO went up yesterday alone. We had over a 3,000% gain. And so I purchased the stocks at about $4.50 and made quite a hefty return on the investment. Now, I didn't put a ton in, but what I will say, I made, I'm very happy with the amount I made from this. But I already sold because we've seen the writing on the wall. We've seen what's happened. What happens after the money goes up? We see a big decline in the stock price, whether that's through ATM offerings, whether that's through the pipe unlocking, things like that. This is a similar story to OCTO. So we studied this, guys. Now, OCTO, we know that Tom Lee, I'm actually going to go to the Twitter here because Amit posted, and this is something that Tom Lee verified, is that BitMine bought these shares, and these are paper gains, but since that investment has gone up, over 2,500%, we now have paper gains of over $550 million. So that's incredible, guys. They're trading at such a high premium that I don't know when this pipe unlocks, but it would be interesting to me if Tom Lee actually sold to get not paper gains, but real gains from this, because Tom Lee, more than anybody, knows exactly what's going on here and that the stock is entirely overvalued. So the company had $4 million in shares, and I'm actually going to do the math with you guys real quick. So the company already had $4 million in shares prior to offering a private offering of 175 million. Now we have a total share count of roughly 179 million shares. When you multiply that by the total price of OCTO, which we can see is at $51 a share right now, pre-market on September 9th, the company is now worth $9.129 billion with a B, billion, and they only raised 250 million. And they obviously have maybe some assets from the previous company because they are using OCTO as a way to access the capital markets. But we can see that over the history of this company, it has fallen basically to nothing, which is, we've seen this with companies like SBET as well, where SBET was a company prior to this strategy, to the Ethereum Treasury strategy. And they used this company as like a way to, a conduit to access the financial markets. So that's what's happening here with OCTO as well. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think strategy of the capital market easily because they're already publicly traded. But let's just divide this by 250 million because that's the initial hype. They're trading at a very, very, very large MNAV by over 30 times their MNAV, which is also what Amit is saying here. They're trading at about 30x MNAV. So that being said, guys, Tom Lee did verify this, and he said it's a now part of their BitMine moonshot strategy, and that this directly benefits the BMNR shareholders. So it will only really directly benefit shareholders if he sells, because you got to make those paper gains into reality, unless he's really, really bullish on Worldcoin, which we will be getting into here in a second. I also wanted to highlight something really funny from Tom Lee. Tom Lee just has like a super funny personality in my opinion, but this tweet here is hilarious because someone, this guy named ETC, tweeted, "Be warned, BMNR is using funds to buy things other than eat." And he said, "Be warned, Mr. ETC is allergic to making money. Mr. ETC may prefer to collect nickels on the sidewalk." So Tom Lee is talking about making money. There's two ways to make money in this play: is either A, go ahead and selling those the pipe investment once those shares get unlocked, or two, this thing running up seriously and Worldcoin actually be a token in the future that's worth a lot of money, a lot of value. So right now, that's not currently the case. We can actually look at Worldcoin today. Worldcoin is sitting at a roughly 4 billion market cap. It went up 66% in the past day. Over its lifetime, we can see it's actually underperformed, currently in the red and significantly lower than its all-time highs back in March of 2020. But there is a 10 billion total supply. Now, this is very, very interesting to me, guys. Now, let's go ahead and get into what World is and why this play is important. So World, like I said, is actually founded by Sam Altman. So Sam Altman actually understands that there is a big problem out there with AI, and it is verifying human identity. So not only is that a problem with AI, it's also a problem with cryptocurrency, blockchain technology. I'm actually going to highlight something real quick here. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, actually mentioned, we talked about this in a previous video, is that BlackRock's CEO has mentioned that there's one critical problem with tokenization of assets and real world assets, and that is identity verification. The same thing stems to cryptocurrencies, AI in general, is being able to verify like this person is a real human being. They're not a bot. They're not a dupe. They're not trying to scam you. It's a real human being. So when you're looking, right now, financial transactions demand rigorous identity checks. Apple Pay and credit cards handle identity verification effortlessly billions of times per day. He said that we need a new digital identity verification system. And it sounds complex, but India, the world's most populous country, has already done it. Today, over 90% of Indians can securely verify transactions directly from their smartphones. And so I want to highlight that because this is ultimately what Sam Altman is trying to do with WorldPay. And so it all stems from here. So world.org is their website. And the first step is literally downloading an app and going to one of these stations to scan your eyeball. Yes, that sounds crazy. It sounds like Black Mirror, like super sci-fi, but it's real. There are actually these locations across the world that World has set up that you can walk into and scan your eyeball. And while you have your app open, it'll verify that that's you. And then that will create your own digital account and verify humanity. Literally, it says humanity verified. So super strange. Now, where can this go from here, right? Now, what can this app do? So this app, now that you have your identity verified, can do really cool things like you can have your digital IDs, your passport, your driver's license, all within this app and verified. You can send payments across the world verified. You can do things like download apps and play apps through the game itself and verify that the high scores within those apps are real and they're verified by humans. There's a lot of cool things. There are polls that are within the app where it's kind of like a social network where you can create a poll and know that the responses from those poll answers are answered by a human being. So that's really, really cool. But I want to get into this video, kind of describe this a bit further. So this is a video on World's official website or YouTube page, sorry, where it is Sam Altman on stage with some of their other team members talking about their overall mission with World. This was uploaded 10 months ago, October 18th, 2024. Now, the framework around World is in these 4 steps. 1, to develop an anonymous proof of human. So that is step 1. That is the iris scan talked about using these orbs. 2, distribute ownership of the network. Now you might be asking like, well, how are you going to incentivize a human being to go and scan their eye? Because at first glance, you're probably thinking things like the comments say here. Actually, these people are pretty interesting. But there's another video here. Let me look at this video on Dan Ives CNBC today. A lot of people are very skeptical about scanning your eyeball. For your security, we're going to be scanning your eyes, but remember, it's for your own good. Meanwhile, we'll be selling all that info to anybody and everybody who wants to buy it. So when there's skepticism out there, you have to have a way to incentivize people. And we know that in the past, there's ways companies have incentivized people. You know, in this interview here, which I'll also link in the description, this guy, Tiago Sada, talks about how PayPal in the past, to incentivize people, they raised $80 million and they used $70 million of their money that they raised to just give back to consumers as like a, hey, if you sign up, we'll give you money. You know, you probably see that all over the place where it's like, sign up and get this reward. You know, like when you're applying for a credit card, you know, things like that. It's like sign up and get points and yada, yada, yada. Now, that doesn't work at scale because if you're looking to get 10, 20 billion people with their eye scanned in your system, you got to do something different. And that is where they came out with Worldcoin. So Worldcoin actually is a way to, instead of giving people straight up money to incentivize them, like, hey, why don't we give them a stake or ownership in the overall ecosystem? So that is the incentive to join the platform, is that you will get Worldcoin and you'll have a stake in the overall world ecosystem. So I find that very, very interesting. Now, on their website, you can actually scroll down. They talk about all these things. They have the world chain, a blockchain designed for real humans. They have world ID, things like that. But I want to hop into this video and go a little bit further because in their presentation, they talked about not only the orb itself and how they're making these orbs way more efficient, faster verifications, faster assembly speed. Because their goal, guys, it's not just to have a couple of these scattered throughout. No, these are going to be in every major city. They're also looking to partner with retail, you know, coffee shops and different retail companies out there that you can come in basically like an Apple store and scan your eyeball in and become a part of the world system. I think it's mind-boggling to me. Like I said, very Black Mirror-esque. But in this, they talked about some more of the benefits because there's got to be more benefits than just getting this hypothetical Worldcoin token that may never go up in value, right? So having the app on your phone, once you're verifying your humanity, you get the access to the world app, and in that you have World ID 3.0, where you're going to have your World ID credentials right in the app. So things like a driver's license, national ID, your passport can all be within your app. You know, he did mention on stage, this gentleman presenting said that, you know, when you go to buy beer in America, for example, you have to be 21 years old. And so what do? They ask you for your ID if you're going to purchase beer. So you hand them a card that states your address, your height, your weight, your everything, that all you need to do is share one piece of information, and it's your birth date with this person. So when you have World ID, imagine in the future you walk into a store, you can scan your World ID, and it shows that your age, you're verified within an instant. You don't even have to raise up your card. You don't have to hand it over to somebody. It's all within your World ID. That's kind of cool. Now, some other things that they're looking to do as well is they are looking to have world apps. So like they're going to have all kinds of apps within their ecosystem, and they're going to have their own app store within their app as well, where everything is completely verified because you have to be a human. So imagine in the future, like YouTube. What if YouTube integrated with World app and you could verify that every person on YouTube is a real person, not a bot? That would be pretty big. Same thing with X and other social media platforms. Now, Sam Altman, in my opinion, has ambitions to basically compete with X. I think he wants to make this into a social media platform, eventually with verification that you're a real human. So I think that's pretty interesting. Other things like I think that are interesting is like polls. You know, when you create a poll within this app, it's all responses by humans. You know, donations, like if you're looking to raise money for a special cause, you know that is going to that actual person and not some scam organization out there, because that's a sad reality in the world right now. There are apps as well that they've created where it's like when you're playing a video game, for example, the high score that's associated with that app, you know, is made by a real human being, not some bot, because that's annoying as well. We all play video games, I'm sure, where you've seen bots run the leaderboards. That won't happen anymore in this different alternate future. So it's really interesting to me, guys. I think there's a lot more use cases obviously wrapped around this. But the world chain is ultimately why you guys are probably watching this video. Now, what makes this interesting is it is fully secured by Ethereum. I don't think if it were secured by Ethereum, I don't think Tom Lee would be interested at all. This is a part of the Ethereum ecosystem. They are technically the third largest crypto wallet, in the world, because that's one thing that's really interesting about this as well, is that you can see here in this video, they talk about how when you download this app and they give you Worldcoin, you actually will have the ability to use your app as a crypto wallet, purchase other cryptos, purchase stable coins, all throughout that app, and it's completely verified to you. And so should be pretty hard to hack into, right? That's pretty interesting to me. Now, the only other thing I really wanted to talk about in today's video was there's some more skepticism around like things like this. The OCTO CEO files to sell 10.1 million in shares. Yeah, guys, this guy's been the CEO for 1 year and 7 months. He likely had nothing to do with the Treasury strategy. He just was looking for a way to he's basically saying, yeah, you can have the keys to the castle and you can use my company to access capital markets. But yeah, when you're, if this whole thing works out, I'm going to probably sell shares. So I don't blame the CEO for selling shares. People are saying it's a scam. This guy's probably not even really involved in the Treasury strategy at all. He probably was a part of OCTO Holdings. He's been there for 1 year and 7 months. I could see, that being the case. So other than that, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know your thoughts below. I want to update you guys. I did buy and I have already sold. Like I said, we know what happens with these pipes. You got to be very careful. I would not recommend putting money into this right now. It is very overvalued. I could see this crashing significantly, where it will trade at net asset value similar to these other treasuries out there. Right now, it's trading at 30x or higher MNAV based on its prices right now. Very expensive. So they either need Worldcoin to absolutely pump for that to even make any remote sense, or the stock needs to ultimately come back down. So thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you guys. If you're interested, give me a subscribe and let me know below if this is interesting to you, because I'm happy to follow this further and make more videos. Thank you.